Welcome to the second installment of Death Taxes Acid. In this episode, we're sharing a recording of a Lunch and Learn session I delivered to my colleagues at Kaleidoscope XR in early 2024. The presentation aims to explore and compare the portrayal of mental health in English language visual media. The first 35 minutes feature my talk, followed by an extensive roundtable discussion with my coworkers. Our conversation naturally evolves to touch on related subjects, including social media, youth, and mainstream media. I hope you find it engaging and insightful.
Here.
Yeah, you see
Okay.
right there.
Sweet.
Oh, cool.
PowerPoint defaults to it whenever you have two monitors plugged in or more.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
let's get to it. Preface. This was just done quickly. I would typically be more thorough and researched. Like, I'm talking like citations. Like, I would take this seriously and write it like I would like a university essay or something. These are just my own observations that I've had with my own unique experience, like of TV, film, movies. Obviously, no one person can watch everything. So it's just my opinions. I wouldn't consider myself an expert. I'm sure this stuff has been researched academically, but it's just like a fun discussion sort of thing, Anyone feel free to chime in with any type of example of movie, TV, game at any time if you think it relates in some way or another. All right. So there's three mediums I chose for analysis: games, film, TV. The top right is Hellblade: Senua's Saga. I've talked about this game so many times. And then Mr. Robot. I've mentioned this show. Most underrated show of the century. And then Joker 2019 with Joaquin Phoenix. Anyone seen or played?
I've played and
I've
seen
First two,
everything.
I have not seen Joker.
Oh, you
All
have?
of them.
Okay.
All of them.
None of them, but I know what they are.
Okay, I'm glad you guys have seen it and stuff.
I think
'cause,
thematically I can see what you're doing here, and this is good.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to just draw a link between like the three mediums and also just zooming in on one that I thought were extremely impactful, right? So yeah. Mental health in film. Oh, I forgot to give the citation on the image, but anyways, whatever. It came from Google. Mental health in film. Film has a rich history of mental health themes, but they've been usually negative portrayals throughout the years. So I found this one website where an undergrad was researching this exact thing, and she said many characters with mental illness are portrayed as violent, referred to with disparaging terms, or shown in a comical context that trivializes their illness. I've often found that mental health is not explored in of itself. It's just used as a plot device, like to just go like gotcha, like in Fight Club, or Shutter Island is just like we don't care about the guy's mental illness. It's just about like, oh, what's happening next? What's actually going on here, right? Like that sort of thing. Okay. So or to add novelty to a character or villain, right? So like I don't know if anyone's seen Beautiful Mind. That's a great movie. I watched it recently. That one he's not portrayed negatively. That one is like kind of like one of the examples where we actually start to feel like empathy for the character, but the rest of them it's like not really, right? So like anyone seen Silence of the Lambs? Like the murderer guy in there is like
Buffalo Bill.
like yeah. Trans people absolutely despise, well, a lot of people despise that film just because of the way a trans person was portrayed. So and then there's Taxi Driver, who is an anti-hero, and then addiction is basically, it's pretty much a cliche, right? It's like it's every movie. Oh, how do we make a guy or a girl more compelling? Throw an addiction in there, right? Like it's not explored in of itself. Okay. So in 2019, Joker came out, and I thought this was a new way of portraying mental illness because first of all, the film was subverted us big time as the audience, because the main character, horrible mental health. He was not likable. He starts off meaning well, but there's not much to like about this main character. Like typically in a movie, it's like, okay, how do you make the main character liked by the audience, right? Like that's screenwriting 101, but there was none of that. He's even creepy. Like I felt cringy in the cinema watching this guy. I personally love that sort of thing, because like being able to make me feel something is usually a good thing. Now the thing that this movie really did extremely well was it showed how a mentally ill person could be a victim from their trauma, from their family, from poverty, and then their community and society, however you want to look at that. So in the movie, you know, he's abused at his workplace. You know, he's not a sharp guy and people walk all over him. He doesn't have any support. There's no social benefits. Like the guy just gets beaten down by everything around him, right? So the film asks some very deep, important questions, like what's the impact of the environment on mental health? So the exposition is in 1970s New York City, which is a notorious time in the city's history for its violence and criminality. Okay. And again, he has an abusive workplace and no social support. A big question is, can society produce a killer? Right. That for me, that was the main question of the film. Okay. So I want to, everyone's seen it, right? I can play a clip like from the movie without spoiler or whatever.
I haven't seen it, but go ahead.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I don't mind though.
Okay. It's not, you know, the movie is not like a big plot heavy movie. Like, so it's not a huge spoiler or whatever. I don't think it's a big deal if you see what the end. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so
this film, if you haven't seen it, you got to see this film because it's such a brilliant character study.
It's
and
unbelievable.
it actually the film makes you super uncomfortable through the whole thing because as Shay said, he's not a very likable character, but you can sympathize with the things that are happening to him. But absolutely you'll walk out going like ick. I feel like ick, and that means that the movie's really accomplished what it set out to do. It's difficult to watch because you're watching mental illness like you are.
No, there's films, I love films like that, like Requiem for a Dream, films that make you just like, oh Jesus Christ, what happened?
So let me go here.
It reminds me of American Psycho, but it goes more in depth.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie. So yeah, the question for me that the film asks is, can society produce a murderer? And the film actually answers this question right at the climax of the scene, right? Can you guys hear it?
No, but
you have to share audio.
Oh, how do I?
So you have to go back into Teams where there's like the share button, and you have to hit share audio, I believe. Okay, let's try.
Why is everybody so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me. But these guys, what, because Thomas Wayne went and cried about them on TV?
You have a problem with Thomas Wayne?
Yes, I do. Have you seen what it's like out there, Murray? Do you ever actually leave the studio? Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy. You think men like Thomas Wayne ever think what it's like to be someone like me? To be somebody but themselves? They don't. They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys, that we won't werewolf and go wild.
You finished? I mean, there's so much self-pity, Arthur. You sound like you're making excuses for killing those young men. Not everybody, and I'll tell you this, not everyone is awful.
You're awful.
Me? I'm awful? Oh yeah, how am I awful?
Playing my video. Inviting me on the show. You just wanted to make fun of me. You're just like the rest of them.
You don't know the first thing about me, pal. Look what happened because of what you did, what it led to. There were riots out there. 2 policemen are in critical condition. You're laughing. You're laughing. Someone was killed today because of what you did.
I know. How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and thinks him like trash.
Call the police.
I'll tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Yeah. So there's a lot there, right? So first he's saying, you know, you have a society that has lost its empathy, right? And that's what he's complaining about first. That's what he's ranting about. And then he says at the end, the joke, he says, one sec. He says, what do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get. You get what you fucking deserve. And he shoots the guy. So the film's kind of saying, like, you know, in a society without empathy and support and everything, you have more murderers, right? So I thought that was a very deep thing that the movie was saying. Mental health in television was pretty much non-existent from what I could tell until one day in 1999, mob boss walks into his therapist's room. Okay, so has anyone seen The Sopranos?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yep.
the best. I have to
Gabagoo.
delve into this. I have to. It's like my favorite TV show ever. You know, it was the first anti-hero on TV. It explored the duality of good and evil in the individual. A mob boss in therapy for mommy issues. Like, what the hell? That makes no sense. And then, you know, portrayed a powerful, wealthy patriarch unable to cope with depression. The show explored the link between depression and nihilism, you know. Next we have and then we have Mr. Robot, so all the way forward to that. And like I said, most underrated series of the century. The main character is a lot like Joker. I thought, you know, atrocious mental health, not necessarily likable. However, he's exceptionally principled, so we do root for him. Elliot's mental health problems are not a narrative device. They are the narrative the entire time. So if just for some clarification, like what I mean by narrative, I had ChatGPT give me it did a great definition of narrative within the context of film and TV. So it's basically just like how you move the story forward, kind of, right? The central plot line is Elliot's internal and continuous battle with his mind, right? And so we as the audience get deeper inside his head as the story progresses, and we feel for him more, we empathize more, we go deeper and deeper and understand more why he is the way he is and what is going on inside of his mind. In games, so not necessarily my area of expertise. I've not played any of these four, but a quick searching says that
I've played them all.
Have you?
Yeah.
So Louis, maybe if you want, like, take a bit of time to explain some of the themes in the games. This is just what I found in the research. Is there anything you can say? Like this one, Gris, this caught my attention big time. Just added it to my wish list. Looks like a gorgeous game.
Yeah, this one essentially talks about depression and how to cope with something.
Okay.
So it goes essentially through, I know it's outdated now, but the stages of grief essentially.
Okay.
So it's essentially that. So it's all related to colors, so it's really nice. And also all the different worlds are separated like that.
Okay.
I think my favorite out of that is Celeste.
Oh yeah.
This one, it's a platformer, jumping, like there's no really combat, but first the gameplay is really tight, but how the story is shown is essentially you know that the little girl is having mental issues and she's going on a climb to find herself essentially. But how it's portrayed and the fact that the game is actually really difficult, you kind of go through the same process as she's doing. So it's always fighting yourself essentially.
Okay.
All throughout. So I really enjoyed that.
Cool.
Last of Us Part 2. I'm actually not sure what's the mental health part about this one.
I think it was saying how there was like the idea of like the depression and grieving from someone. Like, I don't know. I haven't played that one.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense. Yeah, because the two main characters do lose someone they're close to.
Okay.
I'd say early in the game kind of thing. So it's so I don't know if you guys are aware, but the game plays as two parts, two characters. So you play as Ellie, the one in the picture, which was the little girl in the first and in the TV show. And the second part is played as someone who's essentially in the other faction. And you play for like, I don't know, like a month time period. Then you skip back a month back and you start over with the other girl, and then you meet at some point. So it's essentially going through the story of how they deal with that whole thing in their own way. They handle it completely differently.
Okay, cool. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then although the gameplay was not great.
Okay.
Cash, do you want to take that one?
I guess no. If you want to talk about Life is Strange, go ahead.
So Life is Strange is essentially a little girl who's moving to a new city by herself to go to school, famous school, and it's how she copes with being alone, finding new friends and whatnot. But there's also another story of her friend that she makes. That's actually it used to be her friend actually. So she came back to that city to live there. Sorry. Anyway, so that one friend that she has used to have a friend that died a few years back, and that person is dealing with that coping, and like she drops out of school, she starts doing drug, that kind of thing. So it's a really personal story. So it's and it's also the only one that you can make choices.
Okay.
So it goes to different ones. There's like 3 Life is Strange. The second one is about kids losing their parents, and the third one is about the same thing actually, but older. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's more of a devil's advocate kind of opinion. And not okay, that's the wrong word. It's the wrong word, but I just want to put some context in my opinion from being in the industry for a long time. Is games and mental health have a history of being the mental health is used as a negative mechanic. So you can go back to things like Amnesia,
like sanity
mechanics. Very often mental health is used as a very negative mechanic to be avoided at all costs. It's not dealt with in any meaningful way. And I think there are more modern examples. Some of them actually even in the AAA level, which what was the name of the one, the very first Image?
Hellblade.
Yeah, Hellblade. Yeah, and that actually took a fairly somewhat healthy approach, but it's still not treated as a positive thing. So I think games have never, in my experience, treated mental health, so say like autism or dementia, like anything like in the spectrum of mental health, isn't treated in any way a positive thing in my experience. I've never seen it before. And it's usually dealt with in an enemy to be defeated. So it's
right.
That's like how I've always seen it. And I think film and TV have definitely surpassed games. And I think part of it is the nature of the medium, because if it's interactive, you have to have this you actively have to have a bit more of a structured antagonist and stuff, generally risk reward, all that shit. And
well, you need things to overcome. I mean, people play games to feel that they've accomplished something,
and escapism too. I mean, escapism comes in many forms, but I think games have some work to do. And I actually worked on a game as CTO for a couple of years, which was completely about mental health, and I'm not sure if it actually got released in the end. I left the company, but I have yet to see an example of a game treat mental health as something other than
you should play
challenge. I should, yeah.
So I left Hellblade off this slide for a reason. Because this game I've played a couple times, and this game is hard to describe. You know, it's like it nailed absolutely everything that it set out to do. It's written with this like beautiful dark poetry. I'd read a lot about like the development of the game, and I forget the guy's name, but he runs the Ninja Studio or whatever it's called. Oh, fuck, I can't remember.
Theory.
Yeah. So they went like they consulted with like real like researchers on, you know, the psychosis. And so they brought the sound and the visuals like really make you feel like you experience it, you know, the binaural audio capture with like the hallucinations and intrusive thoughts. Like you need to have like headphones to get the full effect, and the binaural audio capture just takes this game into another, like a whole league of its own, you know, or at least in storytelling. You know, we are Senua, we feel her illness and we battle it, you know. The VR edition is like steps this up to an intensity level that I would not recommend for most people because of how brutal and intense it is on you. I love that sort of thing. I love that, but like, oh my god, it's crazy. Like you will feel like you simulate psychosis playing this game, you know. And in my opinion, elevates the medium of VR into its own immersive medium of storytelling. Like VR is this whole untapped thing that for various reasons is not, you know, necessarily mainstream, and only gamers get into it, if that. But like the storytelling potential is just so untapped with it. It's just insane. And this game shows you what can be done. It's just decades ahead of its time, probably, you know. The end result of the game is we experience and empathize with psychosis, right? Like I think that's something we all tried to achieve in some extent or another with the product we built. So yeah, that's kind of similar in that sense. And then conclusion, I don't have too much conclusion here. These are just some vague kind of ideas of thinking. Like I slapped all this together without trying to achieve too much, just want to explore some ideas. So like if there's any conclusions anyone has, like go ahead, say it, and say them, you know, or any comments or questions, go ahead. Cash, yeah.
I guess just exploring the idea. Sorry, Nicola, did you have your hand up first?
No, I put it up after you started talking.
Okay, just exploring the idea, because I think I love the structure here, Shay, of like this, just because it is a really fascinating topic.
Yeah.
I could talk all day about like how this is done right and wrong, or ideas of how to do right and wrong.
Yeah.
Like I was playing a game the other day written by the same writer of the Stanley Parable.
Okay.
And it was called the Beginner's Guide, and it was written. It's fictional, I believe. It's not put across that way, but it seems fictional. And it's written about a friend that made simple little games that he never shared with anybody. And the games slowly got darker and darker and darker, and he started to worry about his mental health. This is all done through narrative. I'm not going to spoil anything further than that, but because it is absolutely worth the play. It's basically free, and it's like an hour or two play. So I do recommend it. It has an incredible narrative. Like I had to sit and stare at a wall for a while after playing that one just to gather my thoughts. So yeah, I recommend that one. The Beginner's Guide, yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's very. I can't think of anything else like it. It's completely unique in its narrative approach. So I do recommend. I think 2015. I think Shay probably you'd probably
yeah,
get
it sounds up my alley. Yeah,
it's not like a challenging. It doesn't have any normal mechanics at all. It's just a thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Nicola?
Yeah, I love this topic. It was so cool. Also, I hadn't seen or played any of your examples, but I know of them, so it's like a lot of stuff that maybe I should look more into. Okay, I was gonna say I find it really interesting. All of like the film examples you gave and all of the mainstream film ones have men. It's men's mental health. But then you go over to like real life.
Very true. Very true.
But if you think more of the mental health problems that are shown in real life on social media are women. And I feel like there's like such a stigma for men with mental health. It's just so weird, the disparity between film and real life. Like there are tons of men out there that probably do have mental health issues, but even though it's being shown in film and TV, like maybe because you said it's been shown in such a negative way, but I don't know, it's interesting.
I was watching a video of that a minute before we got into that meeting, which is hilarious. And the girl was bringing a lot of points. She was saying, first, a big problem right now is the right wings are the only one who are talking to the men and not just dismissing them.
Oh, wow.
So that's when you're getting like the Trump supporters and stuff.
Well, the Andrew Tate and the other guy.
Yeah.
Because they are talking to the men, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you bring up. Like that's a really interesting point because I think probably why the narrative of like a man going like down and Dawn, by the way, that's one of my favorite films ever. Falling Down is such a fucking good film.
Oh, I know that movie.
God damn, it's good.
Oh God,
it's one of my favorites. But like, yeah, the fact that it's like men kind of dominate this like what. Let's be fair, most of them are negative in some way, like traditionally, and maybe that's because, traditionally, at least in the West, men's mental health is considered as generally, if you have mental health issues, it's negative and it's a weakness, and
it's a weakness.
You don't fucking talk about it, and if you do talk about it, it's usually like you've just killed a bunch of people. Let's make a TV show about it. Like how many serial killers TV shows?
That's like the school shootings I was saying. I don't know the statistics, but like from all of the news I'm seeing, it's mostly young men that are doing these school shootings. And it's like,
I don't know if it's
suicide. What support do they have? Like it's exactly what happened on the Joker. They're being isolated. They're a bit different. Everyone at school is telling them they're losers and ignoring them. Like
there was a BBC News. There was a BBC News article after the Joker came out, and I've not seen the film, that was like very critical of it, only in the sense that it would cause copycats. It
romanticizes it.
It would give an outlet and validation to people who are already feeling that kind of way, and then it would cause an uptick in school shootings. That was what the article's premise was. I think Oli.
Yeah, I just just a thought I had. It's I think our gender stereotypes of mental illness and stuff, I think we're defined by the time that we live in. And if we look at in history, like for example, you can look at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Classic book. We all read it. And you can start to look at books like that as mental illness. They're just represented very differently because of how we express ourselves today as opposed to how we used to. So it was, that mental illness piece was always kind of embedded and hidden. And now we're starting to talk about it. And, I think statistically it's coming out on those images of those boys shooting, like you're saying, Nicola, and all of that, because that's kind of what media is dictating to us as these are the important issues. But I think the good news is we're talking about it, not just in movies, literature, and art, but companies are talking about it, and we're recognizing it as a human thing that we shouldn't ignore, and that it's a part of us. It's a part of every one of our makeup. Everybody gets depressed at some point. Everybody gets, and it's a question of being able to deal with that and have those conversations so it doesn't go into full out mental illness or, places we don't want it to. Anyway, that was my diatribe.
That's a really good topic. I like the fact you brought this up too, because it's like you can it's so applicable to the stuff that we do and the lives that we live in, and the conversation doesn't happen as often as it should. And this is I think a fantastic way of like framing it too, because I think most of us watch film, watch TV, play games to some extent. So it's a nice relatable way, and maybe that's like maybe that's like one of the most poignant things here is that those they have in the past, like again, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You could argue that's basically Fight Club. Like they're like these repeating things have been around for a long time, but the conversation I think is changing now for the better, I hope. And so this is some evidence of that. Like some of the games, some of the media that's emerging in a different light. I think that's really hopefully for a positive. So
yeah, well, there's the saying like art imitates life, or might be the other way around, but either way, the point is like there's a link between them, and for me, great art. Most art doesn't do this, but great art helps you kind of make sense of the chaotic world that we all inhabit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like something like The Sopranos for me was just, it hits me so hard. Like it hits me so hard when I see this man who's like a father, like with his struggles, like with his genetic component of his mental illness and all this stuff, and like it means a lot to me, right? And it helps me think of these difficult topics, right? When you can see that some other writer out there like wrote about his or her experiences, and then it gets acted in a way by someone who has to have had those experiences, right? And then like all that together, it's very meaningful, and it's like that show is part of me in a way, so
yeah, that definitely felt like that show felt like a bit of a watershed moment. Like,
oh my god, yeah, 25 years ago they made that show.
Not long, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they've been promoting it all over YouTube because of the 25th anniversary of its first airing in 1999. It was definitely
a watershed moment, that because it portrayed things that like just weren't. It was a completely different take on a usual mob film, TV. Like it was a trope that just turned it on its head, basically.
Yeah, like
well, I think they use it as a medium. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Jay.
Like even the opening shot is like, it's like, think about it. Like you go from Goodfellas, like the classic Scorsese, where it's just like, here's these big, powerful, cool guys, and they're just these fucking killers, and they beat their wives, and like we as the audience are just like, whatever, they're cool. But then with Tony Soprano, like from the very first shot, he's shown as being like under this like feminine statue, and he's looking up at it like confused, right? So it's like, here's this big, powerful man who's just like immediately being diminished by the feminine, because he can't, like, it's a big part of his life and he can't figure it out. And then he walks into into therapy, right? Like a mob boss in therapy. Like this was just like say that idea in out loud before this happened, and you'd be like laughed out of any room.
It sounds like
right?
It sounds like it doesn't feel like 25 years ago. Fucking hell. But 25 years ago, like that was just not a thing.
Right.
Like, and then suddenly they rocked up and they did it for so long, so well. Jarvis, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like that's sort of one of the beauties of exploring, mental health through these, like through film, TV, games, and even like, books, is you can draw people in, like obviously like mobster films, Goodfellas and all that, like Cash Identified, like these were people that, we thought were cool, right? These were themes that had obvious appeal to a male audience, right? Or to certain audiences. But what you can do through these mediums now is you can use these mediums as a draw to talk about more important things, right? Thus expanding the audience. Exactly, right? But it's like, how many people wouldn't have like watched Breaking Bad if they just thought it was a story about a teacher struggling with mental health?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you add themes of, him being a drug dealer, and you can have an episode that raises awareness about like people going through bad mental health spells and having fugue states and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. The raise awareness about cancer and the struggles of going through chemotherapy and whatnot. Right. So
Yeah.
It's just it's a good way to increase awareness and how I phrase it, like sort of move these issues forward and give these issues a broader audience.
Yeah. Also, it's just good storytelling too. Like it's there's entertainment behind it, like not in a negative way, like in a good way, you know. And yeah, like Mr. Robot, oh my god, the way that you like the way the show just morphs with as we get deeper into his mind is just insane. Like insane. They pulled that off. Oh.
Yeah, it's a brilliant show.
For me, it's third and fourth are what really set it apart from everything else. Like the first season's really good. First season's really good. Second is you kind of got to struggle through it. But as soon as
that's the thing, I stopped there.
Yeah, a lot of people stopped
as well. It just
a lot of people stopped there. But like you just gotta push through it. I know you shouldn't have to, but it is what it is, because once you get to the third and fourth, every episode is like a smack in the face how good it is. Like, oh my god, it's so good. Nicola, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Just speaking on that, every like series and movie you guys have mentioned, I haven't seen any of them. I know of them. I'm just realizing I have such a hard time just sitting down and watching TV shows and movies. Like, very much a thing. I can't sit still and just do it, so I just don't. It's a weird thing. Other thing, I just want to say, like, our company is so good for just being able to talk about mental health and stuff, because if you guys have not noticed, I am an anxious person and I seem crazy some days, but like being able to talk about it's so great. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
We're family. Yeah. We talk about these things. And thank you again, Shay. This is like a really healthy way to, we should do this more often, and I don't know what format, whatever.
Let's just all watch Joker.
Yeah.
We'll just do film nights. We got film nights.
Yeah, we should.
Creepy. I was just gonna say, I think in terms of games, I talk to games mostly because it's most of my experience, at least in terms of development. But I think it's fair to say, kind of can apply to TV and I think mostly to TV, because films tend to have more of a beginning, middle of it, and just kind of narrative structure. But people's mental health improving and being solved can kill off that character in a way, because if that is their main thing, if that character is about their mental health and they just get better and they've got the coping mechanisms and they've kind of got their life together, their character's dead as far as the narrative is concerned. And I think that's part of the problem, and specifically in games and TV, sorry, because TV usually wants to have a long run. Film, you got an ending. It could be a happy ending. TV for shows don't tend to have happy endings, or endings at all sometimes. So I think it's a different how they're approached. It's like, oh, you know what, that person's been struggling with with massive anxiety for like 2 seasons. How about we just make them better because they finally found coping mechanisms and maybe got some medications and good therapy and stuff. Like, it's not good watching, unfortunately, which sucks.
How about we just fade to black?
Like what Lost did, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting that it's being talked about, which is fantastic, but I don't think it's necessarily on its way to being like describing to people, to consumers of this media, what the path is to solving these problems, because quite often that's at odds with the narrative, I think. So I guess what point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, that's true. I guess it depends. Like a lot, like a movie is good for the whole arc being how they fight it, or like at least come to terms with it, or like are able, like in A Beautiful Mind, the conclusion is the guy, he just has it under control. Like that's the conclusion, is he, like, his hallucinations are over there and he sees them and he acknowledges that he sees them, but he just doesn't let it in, you know?
I guess I think maybe it's the things the media I'm drawn to, like falling down, like the example Don gave earlier, which is classic. Like the ending for that is that your protagonist becomes the antagonist, and then he kills him, gets killed. He creates basically, without spoiler. Well, I don't know if you've all seen it, but basically, the closure is that it consumes him completely, and that's the end, and that's the release. That's the finale. That's the closure that the audience gets, and I think that's mostly more common.
Yeah.
In that kind of narrative than it is the alternative, which is a shame. But I guess the audience.
Yeah.
Will
it's kind of like that in Joker. It's like that in Joker too, right? Like the movie is his descent into Joker, and it's like
you couldn't slap a happy ending bandit on that film. It would not work.
No.
It would simply not work.
No.
I haven't even seen it, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't work.
That movie was just brilliant because it's like you're taking a villain and arguably the most iconic villain in film, and you're like taking a whole new approach to how someone like that is portrayed, and they did it masterfully. It's what a like 11 out of 10 right there, like so good. Yeah.
Nicola, I think
yeah, Nicola.
Sorry, just to go off that, it's funny because like in real life, when you're having mental illness, the solution is to go to therapy, come up with some healthy coping mechanisms, maybe get medicated, but that's not exciting. So movies and TV shows.
It's a shit narrative, isn't it?
They don't show that. And honestly, that can be kind of like problematic if like youth and stuff are like, oh, all I need to do is find a good friend group and trust in my friends and and solve mental illness. Like it's not.
It's so true though, because like it is almost consistently. There are obviously good exceptions to this rule, but generally it's a downfall. It's a spiral and a downfall. And if that's what you're constantly consuming, and then you find yourself at the tip of that downfall, as in the real world, like, and you've been shaped by the media that you've watched, like, which we all are, that's a really, and it's at odds with good narrative. So like, maybe there's a responsibility there that there should be taken by.
They're just trying to make money off a narrative. They're not trying to cure mental health.
It's also, but there's also the line between fiction and reality, right? Like, I know art imitates life and whatever, but there's also like, it's on you as an individual to like draw that line. Right?
I would agree.
Like
when it comes to stuff that's a bit more unreal, like action films and like killing people, like just like fucking full on Schwarzenegger shit. But when it comes to mental health, I think it touches home far more easily because it's relatable on a level that isn't, I have a million guns and I'm flying around in slow motion and I'm in the Matrix. Like it's relatable on a level like I actually have to deal with this every day. So
but you need actual good writers for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone that owns a million guns.
No, I mean when you like the Joker is the example here, that's gonna resonate with far more people than say the Matrix or like or even like Requiem for a Dream. Like those are too far enough out there that you don't really resonate with them. But if it's something is like you're a loner, and I haven't even fucking watched Joker, but I think I can insinuate enough of it. It seems like that would resonate with probably quite a few people. More than, being the chosen one in the Matrix. That's clear fiction, and the line is a spectrum.
But the thing is, medias are aimed towards teens and like young adults for the most part, which they don't care about that at this point. They just want to be heroes. They're protagonists of their own lives. That's what makes money. So the problem is right now is that art is not separated from money. And that causes a big chasm.
Well,
Get
but
stuff
I guess
fast.
we all had
it never will
production.
be though, right? I mean,
No,
like even if you go back to the earliest days of art, like
That's true.
it was tied to the Catholic Church, who had all of the money, and that's
Mhm.
why there's so many like weird pictures of Jesus coming out of Mary fully formed, right? Like the I think it is that we're reaching a point where it's not necessarily like creating movies like Joker they just have more inherent risk to them. And why would a company, if your only goal is to invest $100 million or $50 million into something and have it get you a return, why
Like,
would you take risk, right?
Remove the Joker from the Joker movie, and no one would have watched it.
Exactly, right?
And it could have been the same movie
easily.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I think good art, for the most part, like, will get recognized in some form or the other. It might not have this type of success that.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with
No.
that.
agree.
Okay, hold on.
Absolutely not. Some of
I
my
have
friends are
officially
best
had my
artists I've
hand
seen
up.
in
Hold
their
on,
own
hold on.
way.
Christopher Nolan, okay, is an artist. The man is an artist, right? Like,
I can agree with that.
What?
I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Is he
like
a Nepo baby?
movies make so much money.
Yeah, but these people that are they're all Nepo babies. Like, the thing is, like, you can be born with the most artistic skill in the world and no one fucking cares. Like, if you're a Nepo baby, if you have a little bit of artistic skill, yeah. So it's
How many
like, that's
games
all
are coming out
film
on
and
Steam
TV.
every day?
I had my hand up. I'm gonna
Sorry.
charge in here. Now I have two comments now. First, I only just learned the term Nepo baby from Christy like 2 days ago, and I took immediate offense to it. I'm like, well, that first of all, I don't know, everything about that phrase is like on their fucking fault. I mean, yeah, opportunity and so on, but that's a separate.
Diminishing someone's effort.
I forgot my first part now. The first comment, I think, was it what you said is like media's tends to be in children, young adults kind of thing, and they just want heroes. I would tend to disagree on that. I think that everybody wants media, and I hate heroes in films. I completely bounce off films that are about a hero. But like, I don't like Marvel films. I don't like DC films. I don't like anything that has a traditional hero. There's obviously exceptions, but generally that's not me. That's not what I like. I want to see something that's more real. It's about things like Falling Down doesn't have a hero. There is no hero in that film.
No.
To use that,
the anti-hero.
To use as an example, anti-heroes definitely work for me because it's like
the real.
It's yeah. I mean, I want escapism, and for me, escapism is watching The Spiral sometimes, whether that's healthy or not. But I know I'm on this. Sometimes I've been on that spiral before, and sometimes watching it go deeper shows me that it's not that bad. I know I can recover from this, and the way that it's like looking in the mirror and seeing that you're not looking at the future and seeing that you won't get that bad. It's seeing an ending that won't be yours, I guess, because it can be instructive, educational. It could be a warning. It could be
cathartic.
Yeah, cathartic's probably a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's like you can see the slippery slope that you've known so well, and then you see how bad it can get, and you realize you've got off that slope multiple times successfully. So it's a warning. It's a warning sign, and I guess it's like it's almost educational in terms of mental health. It's like if they're not going to show you, if the media is not going to show you like a recovery of somebody, they're at least going to show you how fucking bad it can get. And in a way, that's at least a warning sign. To some people, hopefully. Other people, they become school shooters.
Possibly people just plays in the background there. But like, yeah, I like just to clarify, I don't necessarily think that it's the fact that like art, is tied to money, but more so like modern filmmaking has sort of evolved. It's become a lot more expensive, and the expectations that audiences have become, increasingly higher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
At that point, like I think where a lot of that nuance is being lost is you almost need to make a movie for everybody in order for it to feel, or in order for it to be popular.
Mhm.
If you're investing $500-600 million into making it like, the latest Indiana Jones movie, for example, right?
Mhm.
So
That's
the
just
but like the issue that you get is like you're trying to cram all of these themes, and you're trying to make it appeal to as wide of an audience as you possibly can.
Mhm.
Um, and in the process, you end up not hitting all of those themes.
Yeah.
Because you can't touch into those topics in any semblance of detail, strictly because, some people might find it offensive. Right? Like, you can't have a movie that explores, like really dark themes, because some people might get, potentially triggered by it, and you don't want that as the creator. Right?
But
I think you're going a little far about that.
Can I sorry, Oli, I know you had your hand up first. I just want to really drop one in here. I don't think I've watched a single film you're talking about. There are films that I'm sure that exist like that, like Transformers films and the next Fast and Furious, whatever the fuck they're up to now. And I don't think those films are exactly what you described. They don't have any trigger warnings. They're like, but those are, I genuinely think most of us probably don't watch the majority of that. Like the majority of the content we watch is probably doesn't fall into the completely just declip, just like, that kind of film, like which is pure money making, publisher driven. There's no creative input. Like I don't think that's.
But like the thing is, we might be not a fair cross section there, right? Like, when you have it, like, yes, those movies are intrinsically not going to appeal to a large amount of people, but it's bulk numbers, right? It's like, what am I going to go see at the theater, right? And you can see that like there's been a decline, and if you look up the number of movies made and their budgets, you can see that like middle range.
Okay, the
that
last two
typically
most popular
these
films
issues.
this year. The most popular films this year. Two of them.
Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that fall into either one into the category you described?
It was a meme.
No.
But
No, the meme aside.
But if you look at the highest grossing films of the year, like, yeah, there are always going to be outliers there, but like Barbie was an incredibly expensive movie to produce, right? It was a very expensive movie. Same with Oppenheimer, right? And there's always going to be filmmakers that want to explore those. But then you look at, like, I'm pretty sure Trolls was one of the higher grossing fucking movies of the year. Right? Like, you can always, if you take the argument to the most absurd conclusion, like you will find outliers. And those are the good movies that
Barbie grossed the most. Grossed the most of 2023.
Yeah.
And it challenged a lot of the stuff that what we traditionally be non-triggery. In fact, it was triggery as fuck for a lot of people, which is fantastic. And it grossed $636 million.
It was a really good movie, by the way. I don't know if y'all.
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
It was good.
Yeah.
And then Oppenheimer was fifth. And
you
then
didn't like it?
Everything else was Marvel and.
I liked what it stood for, but the whole time I was like, this is punching me in the face with what it's trying to do. But I guess that's the point.
Oli, I think, so has our hand up for.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Oli.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I was going to go back to what you were saying about, expectation of audiences and stuff, Jarvis, in terms of big blockbuster and how expensive it is to produce things. I would argue, on the other hand, that today distribution is the easiest that it's ever been because of computers. And there's a whole market of independent filmmakers that are telling their stories that may not necessarily have the financial backing, or the financial backing, really what it is political backing, right? That's what it is. Whatever the politics of the era are, that's the movies that get made. So, but there's a whole underground out there that was never there because cameras have become cheap, accessible, editing suites can be done at home, and distribution is not an issue at all these days, right? You can pop it up today.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could take this film with this recording right now, with everybody's permission, slap it on YouTube, and it's social commentary. It's like
make a movie.
There's YouTube like podcasts. Like I'm starting a podcast talking about AI and how it's can be used for social good. Anybody can do this. It's like just it's a piece of piss. So like your like $600 million blockbusters, they're always going to exist because everybody loves that massive cathartic experience of like explosions and high production value, and everybody loves that. But sometimes you just want to go on YouTube and see someone's vlog about how they're dealing with a shit day sometimes, or dealing with the same problem that you have. Like that's maybe becoming this kind of new wave of therapy, is just like this weird kind of networked group therapy.
Parasocial,
yeah.
It's just like group therapy on some weird kind of cloud level, because I think that's helpful. I mean, it can also be incredibly negative though, because then you get the dark corners of the internet where people create echo chambers, which we all know about, and people will get into like
4chan.
4chan and incel stuff, and like it's like these echo chambers that they can.
Should we say Instagram, because that's been much worse recently.
TikTok's just as bad. Honestly.
Just for the scale, I agree. Yeah.
Like
fuck.
The amount of just blatant fucking racism that's on Instagram right now is absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
and not just racism, everything.
Oh god.
I have an honest question. Like, I don't use Instagram. I don't use TikTok. I don't use almost any social media. I just have a MySpace page. But is it a negative thing? This is an honest question. It's like, is it a negative thing in terms of someone's like mental health?
I think so.
And understanding. Is it a negative thing for the person who's opted out? Myself being an example.
Opting out.
Is it a negative thing? Am I worse off in terms of empathy for other people, or my own and mental health?
No, God no.
No, I think if anything, it's I like TikTok for like its trends, like fashion or jokes or things that are funny. Like that's why I like it. I like knowing what like the funny thing is or the cool art trend is. But like that's what I would say you're missing. But there's so much shit you have to sift through to even get that.
Yeah, the way that I would describe it is it's like wading through an ocean of shit to find a single diamond.
But is it is it in that case? Is it desensitizing in that sense for like?
100%,
sure.
100%.
So it's desensitizing empathy.
Yeah. So the structure of the system, because this benefits Instagram themselves, is it rewards like narcissism. Okay. So
this has to be stopped.
It does. I think it's wrong, but like, what do you do about it? There's no like, there's harm happening, but like, you're gonna come in and say like,
provide an alternative.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird problem. The solution it's such a weird problem.
To be stopped, because if that's the case, like, I'm so just it's on my peripheral vision barely, and that's just through Christy, who does watch a lot of TikTok, and she is on Instagram. I don't understand the point of Instagram, because like, it does seem to like you have to take pictures of your life constantly,
or
at least maybe some interesting. I don't know how it works. I thought it was about.
There's some positives. There's some positives if you use it the right way. If you use it the right way, there's positives.
Yeah, of course.
Like I recently got
off. Rewarded though.
Yeah.
Are those positives rewarded in any way, or is it just down to the views and the likes
tips will make money.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all these influencers that like promote shitty detox teas and get paid because they have a following. Like, it's that stuff that's like, is that what you mean by rewarding for them?
I don't know. Like, I guess I'm trying to like on topic think about what the mental health, the influence in mental health would be for this, because I think it's like TV, movies, and games are like the big media consumed things, like you consume them, but like social media, it's the elephant in the room, really. And probably, I would argue, one of the most influential on mental health because it's so inescapable for a lot of people.
Well, it's fake. Like, you're seeing people posting what they want you to see in their lives.
Yeah.
So like
I think it's
problem.
maybe that's the problem too, because like films are, we know a film is fiction. If a film is presented as fiction, we know it's fiction. There are very few exceptions, but if film is generally, clearly we know it's fiction. But then if a social media is questionably true or not, then that's going to have probably more severe social, like mental health repercussions than something we know we can escape from. We know it's not there. It's not a problem. But if everybody on social media is lying to you and you think it's true, that's gotta fuck you up.
That's what's happening. Like, all you see is blondes going on vacations in Bali, but for the rest of the year, what do? Not much.
Yeah. So Instagram is it's mostly just people's like personal travel blog. They only post when they're like going somewhere
Photoshop
cool.
gym pictures.
Photoshop gym pictures.
So they're getting validation or money or something through that content, but they're probably suffering mentally from that lifestyle.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure.
And then everybody else who's consuming that is probably suffering. So this is a lose-lose situation from the sounds of it.
It is.
The only anybody who wins is anybody sponsoring and then managed to sell some shit to somebody.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Like the end goal is, big whoop. You have an audience that you can monetize.
Right.
That's that's sort of the big selling point, right? I honestly, I think the biggest reward to it is, it's the flow of information. Like the benefit is you see stuff like immediately as it's happening, but the downside is also the flow of information. There's so much on there. It's hard to tell, what's good, what's bad, what's quality. Yeah, like what informational quality. It's hard to discern.
Apparently, it sounds like I can go on there right now and say some complete bullshit about somebody and it won't be true. And
there's like
you want.
There's AI AI fake videos designed to replicate authoritative posters.
Unreal Engine 7.
Like there is so much shit, right? Like, don't get me wrong, like there's good content on there, but you really have to measure it out and you really have to approach it with a critical mind if you're not going to get swept up. Like I said, if you go on Instagram, and this is just how their algorithm works, like you'll probably be inundated with like incredibly racist memes.
I got a
and then the comments.
Sorry, Nicola, and sorry, Jarvis. A very quick question I just wanted to pose before this topic's lost, maybe. Oli and Don, are we in a similar boat in terms of how our interaction with social media like this?
In a similar boat, how like?
What do you mean?
Do you use social media in what fashion do you use it? Like I don't use Instagram. I don't look at TikTok. When I use YouTube, it's for nonfiction, educational documentary, or just educational material. Facebook I use to keep in touch with some old friends. But do you use any other social media for this that kind of consumption, that kind of flow of consumption? I think that's what people are describing. It's just
LinkedIn?
Like just a stream.
I'm a YouTube fan.
Different. LinkedIn's different. Yeah. That's just business.
I'm a YouTube fan for watching documentaries and getting information. I mean, I knew more about Oppenheimer before the movie came out because of I'm fascinated by the A-bomb, and they really got into his actual personal life pretty good.
And
there's actually it's interesting because one of the characters in the movie, I don't know if anybody's seen Oppenheimer, but can't remember his name, but he's the dark-haired guy who keeps promoting the hydrogen bomb, and later on when they built nuclear I'm trying to remember his name, it'll come to me, but later on when they started to build nuclear missile submarines, he used to tell a guy by the name of John Craven, who was right-hand man to Admiral Rickover, And he used to say, "We will have a nuclear war with the Soviet Union in 5 years." And he used to say that every 5 years because he was a Soviet Jew and the Cossacks had persecuted him. They don't get into that much as to why he did that in the movie, but so I use YouTube as for a lot of information. I love TED Talks, that kind of thing. And LinkedIn, of course, is good for business. But other than that, I don't Facebook, I don't Instagram, none of that sort of stuff.
I don't know if it's a generational thing or is just how things are moving. Nicola, you've had your hand up for fucking ages, sorry.
You guys can finish your thoughts because mine's kind of back to like kids and stuff. Unless
okay, well, I think maybe this might be a good segue then, because like I think I used to, when I was younger, I used to use MySpace quite a lot. And like when you're in your horny teenager years, you're using it for everything we use social media for when you're a horny teenager.
Yeah.
And then after that, like I use Facebook mostly now it's just almost like it's waking up in the morning just to like flip through something a little bit, and then I read the news. Well, I read the news first, and then flick around a bit to see if any of my friends are dead, which happens too frequently. But then that's it. I post once every 6 months, and it's usually a warning like, don't drive down the street because there's a bunch of car crashes. So I don't know. I worry for the mental health element of this for younger generations. I genuinely worry about it, and I don't know what the solution is.
It's been studied, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
this is now a segue to Nicola.
Yeah, okay, so what happens, it's really already fucking up kids in high school. So over the Christmas break, I was chatting with one of Ellen's friends that I've gotten to know well. She's a high school teacher, and she said all of the kids in her class don't give a fuck at all. Like, they don't do assignments, they don't show up, they have no motivation, they're all just depressed. And the reasoning, because some of them have actually talked to her about it, because a lot of them are on social media. And when you go on TikTok and stuff, you see stories, it just knows your algorithm, like what is applicable to you so much, where like mine is like the housing around Mississauga and why you will never be able to afford it. And it's stuff like that. It's all so negative. And it's to the point where these kids are seeing the social media where they're like, I'll never buy a house, I'll never get a job, AI is going to replace me, my creative thoughts and opinions don't matter. And that's what's being fed into them on social media. And that's why all of them in school are just, they don't care, at least from the ones that like public school that my friend works at, like a lot of them had opened up about that. It's like really messed up.
God, what the hell do we do about this? Holy?
So I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna give the pro of social media, which is usually not where I sit, but I'll give you an example. So the young girl I mentor, her sister went missing. One night she ran away and they couldn't find her. So she got on her social media. She got on her Facebook, on her phone with her friends, and she found her sister within 2 hours because this friend spotted her here. They were all connected through social media. So for those situations, it can be really amazing of how quickly people can be found. And the other example I had is like Inuit communities, they don't necessarily all have phones and good cell service and all that. So they will use Facebook as a community resource, and they will, trade things. They use it in a very different way than most people use Facebook. It's a community tool. So there are some good examples out there, but in terms of mental health, I mean, kids have had suicides because one picture gets out there and your life is forever in the media. So it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I think, it depends a lot on the platform, first of all, because Facebook is pretty benign versus like something like OnlyFans, where I think everyone, whether creator or consumer, absolutely hates everyone else on the platform, right? And then the other thing is, like, if you're Zuck, you can like point out all the like little benefits, blah blah blah, here, there, and the other, that you're gonna like point to and say, look, this is a good thing, and he's right. You're right. The thing I think about is like, what's the net effect? And overall, it's like, it's a negative by a long shot, at least for Instagram only, I would say. So,
well, I think Instagram and TikTok and Twitch, to a certain extent, and OnlyFans. The thing is, it's not like Facebook, which is your friends. So that part about Facebook is a great thing. But Instagram, it's all parasocial relationship that you're having, which this can be really problematic, especially to mental health for the little kids, because they're not seeing the real life, and they're getting fed what you're saying, Nicola, also.
Negative and fear mongering, because that gets a reaction, right?
Right.
So it's a cesspool that's just we should disconnect kids from that, but that there's no simple way, because they are the users. So
let's parents have to limit the time that kids are on phones. All the kids I've coached, the parents that limit their kids' times, the best kids.
Yeah,
hands down.
That'll always bite you in the ass, though. The second they are not controlled anymore. That's like.
Yeah, but if you're controlling,
I was never allowed to swear when I was a child.
But that's something else. That's different. This is like, clearly there's going to be a problem if you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I would say though.
I talk to Ollie's point there, because like there is huge utility in social networks, like finding missing people, warning people about dangers, selling things, buying things. Facebook Marketplace is pretty fucking cool.
I love that.
I like it.
Marketplace is so good. Yeah.
It's not. I don't see a lot of negative there. It's not full of fucking, like, it's just like the fucking yellow pages. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But the classifieds, but it's the main bit, the wall. And that's basically, but seemingly what Instagram, you can DM through that. So like that's got some direct communication, but primarily like all of these other ones we talked about, Louis outlined a whole bunch. Those are mostly just the wall. That's the algorithm. Facebook has elements of it that aren't related to the algorithm. The messenger, even like I have a screen right here, it's just Facebook Messenger. I don't use Facebook for anything except for the messenger. It's just, this is how I DM people. This is how I talk to Christy. And it's useful for that. And it's great if you want to get like the word out quick that like there's something dangerous or someone's gone missing or hey, dude, we're having a great party or something. Just like that kind of shit. It's good for. It's great for that friend communication, but friend, not friend communication, that seems where the danger seems to be where the shit's at, the bad stuff's at, because you don't know this person, you don't know their real life, you don't know that this is all fake, you don't know them at all, you've never met them, they are just an illusion, they're just some facade, God knows what they are like or anything about their life, and that doesn't seem helpful at all. What are you doing? It's like it's watching cheap ass reality TV. It's not even there's no production value. It's just sponsored bullshit.
Yeah.
But something's attractive about it. It's got to be. Is it because everybody wants to be that person? They want to be the next person like that.
Yeah.
Or they're posting stuff to try and get likes, to get positive feedback from people, right?
Yeah, that's also really good.
Just dopamine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nothing
it's
beyond dopamine.
Yeah.
Like posting a traffic warning on Facebook does not give me a dopamine rush, but it's fucking useful. Selling something on Facebook or Craigslist does not give me a dopamine rush, but it's fucking useful. So I think the major divide here is usefulness and utility, and then pure fucking dopamine.
Yeah, and they're
which is your doom scrolling and your influencers and shit. Yeah. So. Oli, I think you have something to say about that one.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say with social media and impact on the younger generations, COVID really took a lot of it's replaced face-to-face interactions a lot, and a lot of kids have this invented like world where I have 100 friends. Well, you actually don't. You have a bunch of people who have responded to a couple of things, and you are as good as yesterday's news. But COVID, like just watching my son and even like trying to limit his phone, it was impossible for those 2 years because that was his network. And after, you know, after things supposedly returned to normal, I mean, for months after, I would say, hey, why don't you go hang out with your friends? And they would just get together online. It's like it took them months to adjust to go like, okay, I can be a kid again. I can go outdoors again and no one's going to report me. I can go hang out with my friends. And so, yeah, I think the impact on the young generation, we don't even know it yet. It's coming.
That's a really good point, actually. I think obviously there's been pandemics before. The last big one was the Spanish flu. There was obviously no internet. There was carrier pigeons in the mail, pretty much. So even if it was only 2 years, if it was a formative 2 years, and we've all had those formative 2 years, if it was a formative 2 years for somebody during that pandemic, or given the technology we have, that's gonna, the repercussions, like you say, Oli, like we haven't even seen that yet.
The iPad generation.
And the mental health.
They're gonna take care of us when we're old.
Mental health with it.
No, AI will do that.
Yeah, mental health association.
Okay.
Like how it's going to affect people's mental health when they slowly realize that their formative years were a lie and it wasn't their fault. That's gonna fucking ruin some people.
Yeah.
Therapy is gonna cost a lot.
But
we need therapists.
But I think like on the flip side though, is when people have that realization, it's really gonna, you know, sort of force them to change their relationship with social media.
Yeah,
right.
People,
like, you know, that
the brain's plastic, you know. So
you know, it
depends what year you catch it at.
It's almost a wake up call.
True.
I think it's gonna be probably hit worst. The worst, I would imagine, at least the people would suffer the worst are people who were just about to go to college. That was just completely. They were literally ready to leave home, go out in the world on them by themselves, and it got cut off.
I would say all kids were hugely impacted because you think about whether you're in kindergarten, that's where somebody hits you over the head and you go, don't do that. And it's a bad thing. You learn some physical boundaries as you get older, you know. Looking at a 14-year-old, you know, you like that girl and you have a crush. And how do you have a crush when you're not even in a classroom where you're not around people? So your whole social development, your whole sexual development, your whole spiritual development gets completely stunted at those early ages. Like anybody that was probably under 25 years of age had a huge impact compared to someone like me who was like, okay, I get to stay home and work from home. Okay, cool.
I think I guess we can speak for our own age groups, but like for me, it was like shit. I get to learn some new skills for 2 years.
It was rough.
I lost most of my friends. I lost most of my friends, so that was kind of rough because I get this, you know, I didn't go to the pub anymore. But back when you're 17 or when you're 12, like 2 years is like a goddamn eternity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But two years right now for me is like fucking. Oh yeah, what did you do last 2 years? I don't know. Did some company stuff and watched a film in the cinema. Yeah, that's about it. Punched a bunch. But like 2 years when you're 12 years old is like almost your entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At that point, you're like, I have hair now.
Yeah. I'm wondering if like I had been thinking like if I had a kid today and like Instagram, you know, is everywhere and all their friends are on it or whatever, and like I this has been studied. This stuff has been studied. Like Instagram specifically like has been shown there's a link between excessive use and mental illness, especially in teenage girls. Like this is studied academically, like scientifically. And I would probably be at the point where it's like, okay, like this is a dangerous thing. It's not being recognized that way. Like I'm going to treat it like it's like drug use, you know? It's like you catch your daughter doing it. Like, what are you doing? You know, she's in the bathroom on Instagram. You're like,
but
breaking
you think
the door
about,
down. Like,
I think the same conversations were had by parents when heavy metal came out, right? Like heavy metal was Satan itself. Like there were parents all concerned about, you know, you can't possibly be listening to that and be normal, you know, quote unquote.
Oh yeah, how many shootings were blamed on fucking Marilyn Manson?
Well, exactly. So all we're dealing when we deal with social media is a new media. It like we did with TV, with film, where do we censor it? How do we deal with it? What do you let your kids watch? What do you participate in? Where do you put your money? What are you supporting in terms of what's out there?
Yeah, it always comes
normally
back
I
to
would say,
parenting.
I would say it's I think normally I would say it's just a new medium.
Yeah.
But this one I think has got a bit of a twist to it.
Yeah, because there's no necessarily artistic.
Yeah,
it's not like we went from newspaper like books, then there's suddenly, because when newspapers came out, there was a huge thing about that too, like people freaking out, people just glued to the newspapers, and like that was an actual thing in like the 20s, and
right.
So like we went from like printing press, and then we got newspapers, and eventually we got our cell phones, and then. But there's something I think inherently different from this and those other mediums, including computer games, film, and TV and stuff. I think there's something different because of how organic and unregulated and addictive, and I think in terms of mental health, it has a different impact than those other mediums.
Well, I don't know, because you know what? When films have all these women that are 6'2" and gorgeous, and I'm looking at them all day, my mental health goes down. So I don't know if it's necessarily more impactful. There's just more of it out there. There's more access to information, but I'm not sure that it has any more or less impact than me looking at Hollywood movie stars all day long and going, well, they don't represent me. Like, what's wrong with me, right?
Well,
and a lot of young women are.
You're not doing it all. You don't watch films all day long, and it's fiction. These are famous actresses who have been cast because they're conventionally attractive, and they're actresses that are great for the role. Like that's. You go in with an understanding, I think, that's fiction.
But I think that the problem is doesn't lie there. The problem lies at that they're talking to you. So they're saying, oh, if you do this, you can be better, or something like that. The actress in the movie would never say that. Because it doesn't make sense. She's true. Just there.
Good point, yeah.
I think it's more if I was to ask you guys who your celeb crushes are, and you say Scarlett Johansson, and I'm like, all right, I look nothing like her. That makes me feel like a piece of shit. I think that's where more comes out.
Yeah, no, of course. But now the girl who's looked like Scarlett Johansson on that puts her makeup really nicely for an hour before going live and tells you, oh, you can do this easily with NovaCare or whatever.
Trying to sell stuff, but they're setting unrealistic beauty standards that men see, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, that's where it's at."
That's all really bad, and the other way around, right? It's also for men.
Yeah, it's also there.
Like, just if I can just jump in, just so it's because it's topical. Like, I think the big thing here is that people haven't had the chance to develop a desensitization to modern media, whether it's social media or anything like that. I mean, like you need, and the approach is, I think, the same as like alcohol, drugs, right? If you don't expose kids to those things when they're younger, they're going to not know a lot about it, and they're going to be more inclined to be irresponsible when they finally gain access to it. You can't, there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing you can do to stop kids from doing it. It's about setting the expectation so that they know that it's fake, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. Like your social media star is fucking loading makeup, caking makeup on her face, or like that girl got 6 different plastic surgeries and has photoshopped her ass. Right. Like
education.
That. Yeah. It's you need to prime people before they're exposed to that, because I mean, social media hits your brain in the same way as a lot of drugs when it comes to dopamine release, right? It needs to be treated.
Don't know how to deal with it.
Our monkey brains have never seen
to evolve. We have never had a chance. We have had no chance to evolve at all. It's been too fast. Our brains are just not built for this shit.
Yeah,
but like our monkey brains have never seen 1,000 women in an hour. right? That are all completely dolled up.
Mhm.
We've never seen that.
No.
Speak for yourself, Jarvis.
Well, that's it.
I got to go, guys, and get
pages,
back to
man.
work.
Yeah.
But Shay, great topic, and guys, an amazing discussion. This is something we should talk about. I wish we talked about more. Bell has that thing about let's talk, and I remember reading Playing with Fire, the book by Theo Fleury, and all the troubles he went through during his hockey career. You guys may not remember him, but
I know the name.
he was basically raped as a teenager by his hockey coaches, and went through a whole amount. This guy used to go out and spend somewhere in the area of $80,000 a night on hookers and blow, and when he was playing for the New York Rangers, and then he'd go play a fantastic hockey game, probably because he was still high. But he talks about you are not alone, and one of the things, excuse me, we all have to remember is we all go through different challenges and ups and lows in our lives, and all you have to do is talk to someone. So I got to get back to work, guys. Great topic, Shay, and we'll talk to you guys in a bit.
I hate to be that. I hate to be that dick. That was a great. Thank you, Don, for that. And it's true. But I hate to be that guy that says like sometimes people definitely feel like they are alone, and there's very little they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they have their family is inaccessible, whether they have no friends, and I think those are the most susceptible to that. The ones that need to be reached the hardest.
Yeah, it's a big fear of judgment, and as long as when you're dealing with someone who's going through problems, if you don't judge, you just listen, all kinds of wonderful things happen. All right, guys, have a great one, and we'll talk to you in a bit.
Cheers, Don.
Bye.
Cheers.
We should have like mental health Monday or something. Like a drop in if you want to meeting on a Monday where it's just mental health Monday.
Who's gonna do it? Jarvis, HR?
I like to think we support each other on that front better than most. Like I've learned a lot from. Sorry, Oli, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I just had one quick point to make, and then I have to get back to work too. But in terms of social media, you can't keep kids away from it. This is a part of their life. It's a part of what they're growing up in. It's the century they're growing up in. What you can do is, though, you can teach kids to use social media instead of social media using them. Yeah. Right. So what I did with my son at 11, he said, I want to start a YouTube channel. Instead of saying, no, you're too young, stay away from it, I said, yes. But I also said, we need some digital street smarts, right? There are predators out there. There are things that happen. There are comments that come your way. And what happened is I equipped him with digital smarts. I don't know what you'd call it. It's street smarts in the digital world, but to be able to handle himself so that he knows I don't take this personally. And I think that was one of the most important conversations that we had with him growing up, because he did get targeted by a pedophile, and eventually, police came, everything. It was like federal department was on a guy. He does not live in Canada, but as soon as it happened, he knew what to do. He knew how to respond. He didn't let it affect his mental health. He came and he said, okay, Mom, got to deal with this, right? And we worked our way through that situation. So I don't think you can keep him away, but you can definitely make him strong and smart about what's happening out there.
Yeah, no, I think we can all say like I know all you've had quite the life. I've lived in some places I would never go back to. But I don't regret any of it because it changed me. It made me who I am now. And I didn't have, fortunately, Alex had you to prepare him, help him prepare himself. Then sometimes people don't have that, so they can usually go one of two directions in my experience. They can either like realize, oh damn it, all right, I need to get some fucking street smarts like now, because this is basically a hood, and you can either do that or you can fall in the other direction. And I think maybe there's probably some comparisons there with social media. You can either realize this is bullshit and I'll use it for a utilitarian purpose and whatever, or just for some like just casual escapism, or you can fall the other direction. You can fall in and not get out. You might decide that what you want that life, that's going to be you because you believe it's real, that these are real things. Or you might fall in another direction, say like, I'll never be that. So I like, how could I ever be that? This is not me. I'm not that shape. I'm not that person. I'm not that whatever. And then fall in an even darker direction. This doesn't seem to happen with film and games as much, I think. This is, I think, one of my points. I think it's because people had, there's an unspoken just acceptance that like this is not real. You play GTA 5 and you go around and you kill about 2,000 people. You're like, well, that was cathartic. That was cathartic.
All right, I'm just gonna say bye, guys. I got to get back to it. But great topic, Shay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Theoli.
I'm going to jump out to this point here too, but I think it's also barrier to access. Social media is free. Like, movies only come out, at any given time. You're lucky if there's something worth watching in the theater. Games have, the classic $60 price tag, although it's up to like $80 now.
Game
TV,
Pass is out for that, but anyway.
But like TV, it's episodic. Right, so you get a little bit, and you're almost spoon-fed content, right? Nowadays, I would argue that TV has more of an influence because of binge watching and stuff like that. But social media, it is a constant IV drip of content to you.
Well, it's also,
there's no moderation. There's that's
the major point there. Is like you're talking about user-generated content versus.
Yeah,
not user-generated content. It's like they're so different. There's no, like you said, there's no moderation. There's no control. There's very little like checks to stops in place in a lot of cases. At least for like mildly triggering shit. Like obviously, if it's something completely heinous, it hopefully won't last long. But like
you'd like to think so, but like fucking Instagram. Don't ever use Instagram Reels.
I hate Reels.
Like, it's like I said, like the moment, and I had never used Instagram before. The moment I hit that Reels button, it's like German World War II fucking like chants immediately. Nothing but racist me. It's not.
So you don't have any moderation at all.
I think they do.
It's gonna get taken down.
Fucking tell.
It's gonna get taken down at some point. For sure.
But the thing is, they make so much of it. And it's from so many different sources, at this point you can have AI and 20 accounts constantly cranking out racist bullshit.
Yeah, it also feels like feels like AI could quite happily stop that before it's posted. It won't take half a second of CPU time.
But I mean, an algorithm can't like determine context, right? Like you could post a bunch of these Nazi type of shit and be critical of it. Yeah, you're trying to create a lesson.
But AI doesn't have to, because AI just needs to flag it, and then a human can deal with 1% of the flow of shit.
A few more years, then that's going to be the case. But AI has just been a thing for the past year, so going to give it some time for them to implement them.
Well, and then what I would say is
I don't believe that's true. I think that this could be implemented almost immediately. AI has been around in the moderation level for a long time.
You think Zook is gonna go do that tomorrow? Fuck that shit.
That's what I'm saying. But like you always have corporate lag, right? Like an individual acting as a free agent is always going to be able to react faster, implement new technologies, before like $1 billion company like Facebook.
I'm pretty sure I can implement it in like a month. So
but
I think is more important. The more important the question is, why is it allowed to carry on? As opposed to why isn't it stopped?
Because it's just boomers who have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah. Think about it this way.
I think it's more. I think it's more to be.
But just like just think about it. Like you can implement it in a month, Cash, right? But then your racist equivalent can also do that same thing, right? You like in order for this to be implemented on TikTok or Instagram or any of that, there's corporate approval. I mean, like these companies restrict access to algorithms and whatnot, right? even if they want to make that move, there's still checks and balances that will always allow those free agents getting access to the platform to circumvent and act faster than Instagram.
I'm going to be really fucking cynical right now and say that it seems more likely to me, knowing full well what the technical challenges are, and we're knowing full well working with large companies how slow they can move. I think the cynical person in me says it's people are engaging. They can be they can be happy, they can be happy or mad. They're still fucking engaging.
Yeah.
I mean, racism exists for a reason. Like, people find it engaging. I mean, like it captivated Germany to the extent where they literally elected Hitler.
I mean, if you're
it's a really simple.
For the algorithm and for the company, it's not about the fact that we'll just let that slide. For them, it's just numbers. It's like angry post, like trigger warning, and then in the middle an ad.
Yep.
And because you're so fucking angry, you're still gonna keep going. And look, there's an ad. I mean, that might not be a great place you want in your ad. It's still up there and it's still getting fucking looked at because people are doom scrolling, and then they're gonna fucking see your the ads. Therefore, money.
Right? It's engagement at all costs, and
and I absolutely believe these problems could be solved in short order. I don't believe that. Yeah. That I do believe the excuse will be used that it's very difficult to moderate this kind of stuff. I don't believe that's the actual truth.
Like they are, but like, once again, it's still like just based on how things are going. And I mean, you know this with the whole like cybersecurity versus hackers situation.
Yes, I know this very well.
The free agents, like you could always come up with a workaround, but someone can also invent that same technology to get around your workaround.
But the workarounds are at this stage so fucking obvious. If like someone posts literally Nazi chants going on, like that is not hard to detect before it's actually posted. And if the workaround would be using strange characters, which you adapt to, like we're talking hacking versus posting that kind of garbage on the internet. Totally different realms of existence. Like those are not the same skills.
Yeah, it just like I don't know. But my question is like, for these companies, if there's a way to achieve that engagement without without enabling that sort of thing, then why hasn't it been done?
Because the most companies are short-term thinkers.
Yeah.
It's what's our next quarterly revenue gonna look like, and fuck the future.
And that's what I'm saying. There's that corporate barrier, right? But no, but that's what I'm saying. There's that corporate barrier, right? That's getting in the way of this being done, right? Racism is fantastic for Instagram's bottom line this month, but let's be real here. If a race war ends up breaking out, it's not going to be good for anyone's wallet.
The thing is, Instagram's just a company. People involved in the company can bail at any time and be billionaires. It doesn't it's short-term thinking that creates this kind of bullshit.
Nicholas, guys, can I share just a funny story that was on TikTok last year?
I'm still listening.
There was this TikTok ad. It was like a sponsored post that went viral because it did something really bad, and it took forever for it to get taken down. But it was this guy holding a product being like, I need to bleach my asshole. It's been so long. Take a look. And
I saw that one.
And it stayed on for so long. I was like, how is this still here? It was just asshole. But yeah, sorry, that's off topic.
Were you just going back to look at it, or?
No, I haven't looked at it, but it kept popping up. Like it was an ad. It was a sponsored thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it got there.
This is where we're gonna get. Like, I'm gonna get in. I'll be conspiracy theory Jarvis for a second. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been on the Chinese version of TikTok. Right, but it like so Douyin, I mean, it was popular when I was in China, and someone convinced me to download it. Right, it is nothing but patriotism. It is the most patriotic fucking content
I've heard this
to the
before.
extent that they import people from like the U.S. Like basically they call them white monkeys because they get the job because they're white, and they're basically just do what they're told. But they have them go in there and they sing like patriotic, like Red Star Flag and other like patriotic Chinese songs. But then you go on Canadian TikTok, American TikTok, and it's nothing but like incitement, right? So it's nothing but like I'm pissed off, that kind of stuff, right? It's inflammatory stuff. I wonder how much of that too, if China has through Zhojin, their Chinese platform, the ability to filter out and show just like oodles of patriotic content that's pro CCP. And if you beat a channel like that, that's not the zeitgeist. Like a lot of people there are not pro CCP. And all we're getting here is like very, anti-Western, like status quo stuff. It almost wonders, or it makes me wonder, like how much of that is an intentional like information war being waged on people.
That's been the thing. That's been the case for the documented case for a long time. I think more so on things like your Twitters and in your more anonymous slightly more anonymous kind of feeds and stuff.
Yeah.
It's in hacked accounts, obviously.
Like that's where I uninstalled TikTok because like I was using it and I felt like every time I opened the app, I was just pissed off at society in general.
I wonder. Like, so I have a very short story. Sorry, Jarvis. Do you want to finish what you're saying?
No. We were just going to go in like down the spiral of how much I hate TikTok. So
okay, well let me lift it up a bit then. Maybe we could use a little pick me up or something. Like where we used to live before we got renovated. In the last place, there was it was on a pretty busy street, and there was a bunch of bus stop benches, like not the shelter ones, the benches, and they all had pictures of real estate agents, which I don't know why real estate agents are so obsessed with having their face stuck to stuff. I do not understand. Is that why they get into the business, to have their face on things? I don't know, but either way, it was like,
well, it's the same thing for people who go on Instagram.
Yeah,
I have to show you guys a picture of one from this area.
Realtors
I looked into how much it would cost to actually put an image on that park bench, specifically the one directly outside across the street from my house, and it wasn't that expensive. And I was like, you know what? I just want to put. I didn't do this, by the way. So this is not like I'm a hero god thing, but this is my idea anyway. And it went. I want to go for. I do want to develop that idea further. Like I just wanted to put a picture of a bunch of jellyfish on there, because Christy is that's her favorite animal, is jellyfish, and a park bench with a bunch of a bus bench with a bunch of neat looking, colorful jellyfish. It's just a nice thing to see in the morning, right? It's nice. So why? What would it take? What would it take? Obviously, let's ignore the shit tons of money part just for a moment, because we're thinking outside the box here, right? But what would it take to just completely usurp and repurpose all of the sponsored advertising and social media with stuff that isn't shit? And then that might drive people to go to bots to advertise or whatever. But would people be willing to get involved at a global level of just we're fed up with this shit? Can we just somehow globally ruin it for all these assholes that are making all this stuff? I don't know.
Sounds like workers of the world unite, but that never happened.
Nope.
Well, no, because this is only going to take another avenue of divide. You need to move faster than, always need to move faster than the other one, and it's impossible. I mean, I don't have that much of a fear for the future generations as much as I probably should, because I used to Google everything. I would Google literally everything because that's what you do when you don't have any information. You Google it. It's in the goddamn Oxford English Dictionary now. But now
Google
I don't.
Hates that, by the way.
Oh, fuck them. I don't anymore because it's ineffectual most of the time for the work I do. It's ineffectual. So fuck it.
No, for everything. And I saw there was a study that came out, I think, like yesterday about that. But anyway, I didn't read it, but
it has provenly become so just not what it was supposed to be, that it's just like people are just looking elsewhere. Bing was a dirty word. Now it's less of a dirty word. People are using AIs for such things. People are literally just doing anything else that's not Google. And so I think the poison pill will always develop. I think it's the same with social media, Instagram. People are going to reach a tipping point with like, clearly everybody here seems to understand that Instagram specifically is garbage. So you treat it like garbage. Unless you're being gaslit, you're going to treat it like garbage. Treats you like garbage, treat it the same way back. It's going to be a matter of time before the kids realize that. It's the question is, I guess, is the damage done by then?
I think
dark humor is gonna be big.
Yeah. I think the thing with like tech and the modern world is like everything could change so fast. Like, to be honest with you, like it might someday become really cool. Like all the YouTubers might be saying like, I'm deleting Instagram, and then like Instagram could just fucking like die like in a matter of years. Unlikely, but it could happen, right? Like you see this with all kinds of softwares and shit. They always get replaced. So
yeah, MySpace was.
You never know. You really don't know what could happen.
That's true, but we've been saying that for like the past 7 years, and stuff like Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Twitter. They're still hanging on, and they're really fucking strong.
4chan.
Not 4chan.
My ex was obsessed with 4chan.
I think Facebook is. If you would ask like the average like tech savvy kid of this generation, like what they use as a social network, I don't think Facebook should be probably top of the list.
Instagram is new in there for them. It's TikTok, Twitch. It's like all those ones like.
Yeah, and those are not ones that those ones are very different. They're by design, they're different. Like they're not your friends. They can't be your friends, obviously, but they're not generally your friends. Like as it was mentioned before, you're dealing with
parasocial. It's all.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's not like a one-to-one relationship. It is a one-to-many relationship. It's a fame and celebrity based relationship. It's not like you actually get along with somebody and decided to be friends at all. It's that you covet somebody, which is a completely, if that is your friend group, that's massively unhealthy. Jesus.
Yeah. It's just
on
weird.
Yeah, this was a really great presentation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I think very well. A really, really well put together like framing of a subject that was just dying.
Yeah, that was really nice
for conversation.
I really like how we all like, it sparked a big conversation. It was much longer than the presentation itself.
It feels like a Friday.
3 times.
Like a Friday.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And thanks for watching this episode of Death Taxes Acid. I hope you found value in this conversation. See you on the next one.